Final Fantasy XI was one of the grandest, deepest, and coolest MMOs I've ever played, and it changed the way that I look at games, especially MMORPGs, forever. Because of that, I can't help but compare most newer games to that experience, whether I admit it or not. So no more beating around the bush, I'm getting to all the things that have me super excited about Albion Online as they compare to my experience in FF11. Because let's face it, that's where the bar for me was set. So hey guys, it's Hunt for Games, and just to be clear, I'm not comparing the two games in their entirety. That doesn't really make any sense. Besides the fact that they were released over a decade apart, they're just very different in many core ways, but that doesn't mean that they don't share any common ground, and it's those areas that have me really excited. MMORPGs have shifted dramatically in style and development focus over the last 10 years, largely to attempt to cater to a larger audience, and many, including myself, feel that some of those core aspects of what made games so special has been lost in the transit. So does Albion Online bring any of those back? Well, yeah, totally. So let's get into what they are and how they made Final Fantasy so special, starting with money. And I don't mean the money that you pay, I mean guild, gold, silver. So Final Fantasy XI had one of the most robust lists of possible equipment sets I've ever seen in any MMO. From unique job-specific sets that look different from anything else in-game, to totally common stuff that you could equip on basically any job. This diverse set of stuff meant you were constantly buying, selling, rebuying, reselling, all sorts of stuff as you changed between jobs, out-leveled stuff, or simply got something better. Obviously not everything in the game could be bought or sold, but there was plenty to make you wish you had some gil to throw around. On top of that, disposable items like ninja tools, scrolls for learning spells, food, and countless other money-hungry things were constantly draining your wallet, creating a need for more funds almost all the time. Albion Online is an even stronger dependency on financial stability, as all gear that exists in the game is crafted by other players. This means that to upgrade your own equipment, you'll either need to learn to craft it yourself or buy it from the marketplace. On top of that, in more dangerous zones, you run the risk of dying and dropping all the items and equipment currently on your person, meaning you could have just barely saved up to get that single set, lose it all, and have nothing. You have nothing left. Basically lending to the idea that you shouldn't do that. You should always have enough money for a few versions of that set at the very least, because you'll probably have to buy or equip another one very soon. While that sounds super intense and miserable, the actual need to make in-game money is something that I really miss. Researching new, ever more ridiculous ways to make money in Final Fantasy XI was some of my fondest memories with that game, from lockpicking chests and Fei-Yin for life belts, to growing the wrong plant in pots for a month. My estimated ROI on that was way off. I thought I was going to harvest ingots, and it was actually the ore. I just kind of mis-googled that. I barely broke even. I spent a month, carefully cultivating plants, and I broke even. Seriously depressing. On top of that, there was standard farming, Taurus monsters, and a million other things. I was always looking for that next big way that I could make money that other people hadn't thought of or just wasn't that popular yet. There are obviously more straightforward routes like leveling a craft, but that was expensive and time consuming, and even then you had to carefully analyze the market to really make a profit. But ultimately, even just leveling your job was an investment, opening new doors into Taurus monsters you could kill, enemies you could efficiently farm, or BCNMs you'd be able to beat. I remember leveling Red Mage to 40 just so I could use it for a BCNM. What that BCNM was I couldn't tell you now, but it was a money-making machine. Which brings me back to Albion Online. Albion is a purely player-driven economy. Money is essentially the sole driving force that leads to risk, reward, and inevitable conflict between other players. While I'm not used to a game possessing this level of economic intensity, I really have missed the auction house or marketplace being such an interesting and dynamic thing, something that mattered. Games these days have reduced the dependency on in-game auctions, with titles like Final Fantasy XIV providing all you'd ever need through questing and dungeons. Sure, there are a few things you could buy, but you'll probably have all the money you'd ever need just from playing the game, doing occasional quests, and everything else. Any more than that, you're using it for items for housing or glamour, all those superficial stuff that you don't really need to progress. Not to say that stuff isn't cool, but I don't have that same drive of I need this because I need it to progress. With there being an actual reason for me to want to make money, truly want to make money again, I'll be more excited again about finding new ways to do that, which is one of the ways that sandboxes like Albion truly excel. To make that big money and earn the higher tier gear, you need to take risks. In this case, that means moving to more dangerous areas, with PvP rules getting harder and harder with each tier. Max tier is full loot, no warning PvP, and while I haven't reached it yet, the adrenaline rush must be insane when you've been farming, harvesting for hours in your best equipment. And surprise, out pops I kill noobs for fun XX75 or something. And suddenly you're in the fight for your life. The important thing here is mostly that death matters, whether by a player or strong enemy, which is something that I honestly haven't cared about since Final Fantasy XI. In Final Fantasy XI, dying was just the worst. I mean, hours of time wasted, gear that you could no longer equip if you de-leveled, abilities lost, just wasted expensive consumables, failed boss fights that could have taken you forever to get out to. I mean, we're talking about wasted days here, just days gone down the drain. But because of that, the fear of death was real. You did not want to go down. You did not just jump into any fight with an enemy you'd never seen before because like, whatever, who cares if we die? You cared. You did not want to lose. Exploring new areas was always done with hesitation. You never knew what around the corner could be a cluster of enemies far too hard for you to take down. Or maybe just one notorious monster you've never heard of that was way harder than it really should be in a zone that wasn't that hard for you to begin with. Or who knows, maybe the first enemy that's going to aggro smell. The fear has long been gone from modern MMOs, and I'm excited for that risk to be reintroduced with Albion Online. Of course, none of this would be at all a big deal if you could just teleport back from wherever you got into trouble. But say hello to difficult travel. Travel that matters. Areas that are large and take time to traverse. Final Fantasy XI had airships, chocobos, boats, and a few teleports that only white mages and black mages could perform. Travel took time, and you'd pay people to make that a little bit easier whenever you could. This gave zones weight. Working together with friends in an area weight. Like, if you ran into someone in game in a random spot that was way out in the middle of nowhere, it was like, oh my god, like, what are the odds? What are you doing out here? This is just so cool. If you decided to go camp something in Temple of Ugalef, it was like going on a trip. You better make sure you have everything you need before you head out. It won't be that easy to hop in and out again if you have to come home. When travel is difficult, it makes the world feel bigger. All of a sudden, that huge map means something. Myths and rumors of players doing crazy stuff in far-off zones have extra heft to them because you may not immediately know how you're ever going to get there or even how long that would take. Logging out in an area that you were playing in was like a conscious choice, and when friends locked back in next to you, it was just so cool being like, oh right, let's pick up right where we left off. Some modern games have, in an effort to make games more accessible, almost removed travel as a barrier entirely. And while this certainly helps my ability to play in short 30-minute spurts, it also removes the feeling of grandness that older MMORPGs possess. There's never that feeling of maybe I should play a little bit longer, it's hard to get out here, which often used to leave me, feeling like that extra drive to finish whatever I was doing. Now it's like, whatever, I should log off, like I could just get on later and get out here in 2 seconds. But that disinterest, that feeling like I can log off whenever, often leaves me to log off sometimes for good and never log back on. And in a game like Albion, where economy is everything, and each city has its own unique market that doesn't overlap with any of the others, if you're in a region where cotton is prevalent but materials for plate armor are not, anyone buying some plate is going to have to pay a hefty premium for that, which is cool. If you want to take advantage of that higher price, you can move your goods from one city to another, but through those dangerous zones, possibly quite a distance, with that travel being so hard. And with that risk comes the question, do you want to do that alone or bring a friend? Maybe your friends suck and you want to pay for a guard service, shouting, just being like, I'll guard you, but maybe they're lying. Which brings me to my final point, socialization. With that difficulty comes the need to band together. In Final Fantasy XI, there was no progress alone, forcing you to group up to take down camps of enemies to make leveling progress. After playing with these people for hours on end, accidentally pulling a notorious monster, getting into an argument with another group that tried to camp on top of you, that camaraderie was born. All of a sudden you guys decide to try and get on the next day together and play, or help out with that boss that someone's been trying to kill. Without that difficulty, that fear of failure, communication isn't really necessary. When the game can be played alone, it's more and more likely that that's what's going to end up happening. In Albion Online, I encountered a rare spawn of some kind in a dungeon that honestly wrecked myself and another random player that was next to me in like a really early dungeon. Early on, you can kind of like pop back up after getting knocked out, so we grouped up and started chatting about it. Neither of us had realized bosses were really even in the game, especially not that could kick my ass. Those kind of moments lead to larger groups and social interaction. And in a sandbox like Albion Online, even broader scopes of social dynamics, with competing guilds, player histories, stories, stigmas. Final Fantasy had famous players, famous link shells, story of red mages soloing Kindred Steel notorious monsters meant for 6 people, and because everyone was chatting, these tales grew and got like kind of exaggerated. It just made the world feel so alive. There were all these stories, these people were real people, and you actually wanted to talk to them. I'm as guilty as anyone of being hesitant to chat in newer games, both due to the faster pace leaving less time to type, and there just being a lack of a reason. When you're thrown into a dungeon with players from servers all over, knowing you'll probably never see any of these people again, holds me back from being like, hello stranger, like tell me about yourself, because like, we're gonna know each other for 5 minutes. It sounds silly, but it's true. And with Albion Online's single server, back are the meaningful social interactions that have lasting impact on your relationships in game. If you get a reputation as a dick, guess what? You're a dick until you work that out. People remember, they share stories, and they'll tell others of your dickdom. Now, to come down off this high horse of excitement, it's not like I don't have any concerns. Albion Online's isometric view, while attractive and fun in its own right, doesn't draw me into the game the way a freeform like third-person or first-person perspective really can. You have a problem with what I like to call the Horizon effect, and it's why games like Path of Exile or Diablo never hold my attention as well as other MMOs. I want to be able to stare into a forested area straight ahead and wonder what's around every corner. I want to find secret nooks that are kind of hard to see from the main path, camps of enemies that aren't widely known. I need to be able to look out towards that horizon and wonder what's out there. It gets me excited to explore those new areas and level up to be able to meet the challenges those new regions possess. And while the top-down view can be fun, I worry you won't be able to grab me long term. On top of that is gameplay, which is very basic in its delivery. While Final Fantasy XI was essentially a game of menus and macros, the flashy, unique effects were amazing and memorable. The sound design for some weapon skills was so good, you could just feel Dancing Edge connecting on every hit. It got me excited to play some of my favorite jobs for their abilities, their weapon skills, their spells, casting new things that I've seen other people cast like once or twice. I remember being at an endgame event the first time I ever saw a Black Mage cast Stone 4, and it was just like stone spinning and like, and I was like, what the hell was that? That was the coolest thing ever. And I immediately went and leveled Black Mage all the way to 75 and was actually a little let down. It was built up in my mind. Albion's visual depiction of spells and other abilities is fairly basic, and ultimately, this isn't an end-all be-all, and I have rather enjoyed the simple gameplay. Plus, it's nice that it can run well and play on phones and tablets. Do you know what would have happened to me if I could have been mining in Ifrit's Cauldron on the phone all day? Nothing good, I can tell you that. I probably wouldn't have achieved anything in life at all. But I do worry that a lack of truly interesting visual effects will cause me to eventually lose interest, but we'll have to see. But my biggest worry, honestly, is that I won't be able to give this game the time, the devotion, and the investment that it craves. Some of the most enticing aspects revolve around these player versus player things, and with that level of competition comes a level of time investment I'm not sure I can actually meet. If I can't or won't play enough to be competitive with the more serious players and just playing the game at kind of like a mid-tier level, I don't know if that's going to be as interesting as some of the stuff that I hear about that gets me so excited about playing the game. I worry I'll be constantly like kind of on the outskirts looking in, hearing cool stories of guild versus guild wars and building construction that have whole teams of people banded together to work on stuff while I'm slowly doing similar tasks every day, just trying to stay afloat with my minimal playtime. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. Have you ever played a game like this with kind of like you only partially invested yourself in it? Was it enjoyable? I'm going with the flow right now, but those are my concerns, especially with the debate about its pay-to-win nature, which seems to be there, just not really game ruining, at least yet. So let me know what you think. Albion Online sparked my curiosity with how different it is from most games I play, but also in ways that it's so similar. Obviously, Albion Online overall is quite a different experience from Final Fantasy XI, but these core concepts for how it can feel when you're playing remind me so much of the old days on the PlayStation 2. If you're interested in checking out Albion Online, let me know. The interest hasn't waned yet for me, so I will be online playing. I'll link my referral code below. I really don't even know what it gets us, to be honest. It might be gold, it might be silver, it might be nothing. So we'll figure it out. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of Albion Online if you're playing it. And what other games you think are similar to this that I might really enjoy. Eve has a lot of similarities, I know, but I've never been able to really get into the gameplay that it kind of shows. But if you think you can sell me on that, let me know. As always, check back for my other videos, and I hope to see you guys next time. Peace. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, you should totally think about subscribing. I've got videos coming out twice a week, and if you like this one, there's at least a chance you like some of the others that are very similar to this, so live dangerously. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments and other videos you'd like to see. And finally, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Huntin for Games to keep up with all the latest stuff. See ya.